দর্শক শুভেচ্ছা, স্বাগত সবাইকে আজকের চলতে চলতে অনুষ্ঠানে। আপনাদের সঙ্গে থাকবো আমি মাহফুজ মিশর। আজকে আমাদের অতিথি ঢাকায় ইউরোপীয় ইউনিয়নের রাষ্ট্রদূত অ্যাম্বাসেডর পিয়েরে মায়াদু। অ্যাম্বাসেডর পিয়েরে মায়াদু, মোস্ট ওয়েলকাম টু আওয়ার শো।
Hello, good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Welcome.
It's almost 3 years you are here in Dhaka and you have started your Dhaka mission, and you have set some target on the very beginning of your starting mission in Dhaka. After almost 3 years, how can you evaluate your works after 3 years?
Very good question, very difficult question as well, you know. First, I must say these have been very fulfilling years. And even though I'm now almost 3 months prior to my departure, I don't feel at all that I'm going to leave Bangladesh anytime soon. The reason is that I am, and all the delegation colleagues with me, very much into action. And we still have a lot to do even before I go. We have very important meetings, milestones that are keeping us quite busy at this point of time. But talking of objectives, we can always have general objectives when we start a mission, but under circumstances, under pressure of events, under various parameters, it happens that you have to revise your ambition, your objectives, sometimes which is good for even broader ambitions. And this is exactly what has happened to me during this mission, these 3 years in Bangladesh. And I think it's the beauty also.
So you are satisfied with these 3 years?
You are never, satisfied is not a word I like too much.
You is a big development partner of Bangladesh from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
And you are not only working with our development work, but also regarding good governance, election commission, institutional arrangement, everything. So how we can evaluate where Bangladesh stands right now?
Yeah. Now, all what you say is true, but I would add one more element, which actually became very quickly the most important part of my mission here, which is to address, discuss, negotiate trade issues, and that under various angles. And you may know that last week we had this Sustainability Compact review meeting, which is quite a huge event by all counts. And this is the occasion also to bring together all stakeholders on a very critical matter, which is the future of the RMG industry of Bangladesh. So on that, I must say we have witnessed a lot of progress over the last 3 years and before, I must say. But also we still are very much under a work in progress mood, and we know that we have to do more and better for all our objectives to be achieved.
You are a big partner of RMG sector, the biggest partner especially.
Yeah,
so how do you evaluate the government sector? Where do you stand now, especially after the Rana Plaza tragedy? You have said different times it was a wake-up call. And did Bangladesh respond that wake-up call properly?
Absolutely. No, this is, nobody can deny that regarding safety at the workplace, tremendous progress has been achieved. But our partners are the people, the women, working 80% of the labor force in those factories are women working in these factories. This is for them that we are here.
European Union is a big advocate for human rights all over the world, and it's a big area of your interest. So how do you evaluate the human rights situation here in Bangladesh?
Human rights are very high on the agenda of European Union universally, and no country is perfect. It's a matter of willingness, to improve the situation. So there are problems, nobody can deny it, and frequently we discuss these problems, including with the government. We have a dedicated working group on human rights, governance, and democracy, and the government never shy away from addressing those matters with us. We have also regular contact with the National Human Rights Commissions. So on various issues, we very much engaged with the government. I would dare to say for all Bangladeshis, a very traumatic experience. In a country of hospitality, of friendship, how can this happen in Bangladesh? I think everybody thought that this country was immune to the risk of terrorist attack. We had to revise our perception.
Sometimes you have criticized the extrajudicial killings and this kind of activities, and still that is going on. And we have seen the human rights organizations have published some report, even from some international reports also come.
Yeah.
That's sometimes criticized all over the world. and you have some activities with the law enforcing agency. Do you have?
We don't have much on that count, but some of our partners, the UN and some member states, do have programs. But we intend absolutely to have such a project in the future, including developing awareness on human rights issues within the law enforcement agencies. Very true. This is one of our objectives for the coming months. Then it will be for my successor to identify, conduct this very important program, for sure.
Ambassador, during your tenure, the Holy Artisan Bakery, that is very much closer to your office also.
Absolutely.
So you have seen it, and after that, Bangladesh have taken a lot of steps to combat terrorism, counter-violence and extremism. How do you evaluate this? I want to know this question, but now I have to take a break and I will back you. দর্শক ছোট্ট একটা বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পর, আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকবেন নিশ্চয়ই। দর্শক বিরতির পর স্বাগত আরেকবার। আমরা কথা বলছিলাম ঢাকা ইউরোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নের রাষ্ট্রদূতের সঙ্গে। অ্যাম্বাসেডর, ইউ হ্যাভ সিন দ্য হলি আর্টিজান অ্যাটাক অ্যান্ড ইট ওয়াজ দ্য ফার্স্ট and biggest attack, terrorism attack in Dhaka, and you have seen the Manchester incident also.
Yeah.
So are we anybody safe in the world, in anywhere, where you are staying?
I think this is a defining feature for world developments these days, the multiplication of those terrorist attacks, which all follow the same pattern and the same objective, to scare civil societies, to scare state, and to impose a different vision of the world. So definitely the Holy Artisan Bakery was a traumatic experience for all, I think, in Bangladesh. And for us Europeans, of course, we felt directly hit. You know that nine of the unfortunate victims were Europeans, all Italians.
So if I tell you to evaluate the government's role after last 1 year, after the Holy Artisan Bakery, are you satisfied with government roles?
I think government has taken very necessary steps in terms of acknowledging, in the first place, the reality of the threat, in terms also of taking decisive steps in the security order, and also finding the right words to say that such a struggle cannot be conducted by security forces alone. This is also a matter of mobilization of the civil society, of the families.
You must noticed already more than 30 militants killed by the law enforcing agency, and lots of progress is going on. They discovered some dens of militants almost every day. So sometimes you are talking about human rights, talking about extrajudicial killing. But what about this militant? Because if they want to fire the police or law enforcing agency, then what can law enforcement agency can do?
No, obviously, security response is part of the global response to the scourge of terrorism. And steps are taken, to address this matter on the security level. But what is important, I think, is to look also at the global picture. Our deep feeling in Europe, and not only in Europe, shared by so many around the world, is that we have to also address the root causes of terrorism. And there, human rights come into the loop. And very much we believe that more freedom of expression, more democracy is part of the global response to the scourge of terrorism.
You are a big partner of Election Commission for the reconstruction of the previous Election Commission. The new Election Commission has formed, and already you have told you are very much interested to work with them. And there is a schedule of election on 2090, and there now in the country there is an environment of election. All the parties try to attract the people to vote for them. So do you think the next election will be not like 5th January election in 2014?
Yeah, that's of course a very critical point. On your first comment, yes, EU has been in the past a prime partner of the Election Commission. Then there is a broader issue of the run-up to the elections, the next election end of 2018, maybe beginning of 2019. There again, we have made officially an offer for the EU in the run-up to the election, a few months before the election, to have in Bangladesh an election observation mission. And this has been, a common pattern in so many countries over the last decades. EU has sent election observation missions. It has always been very much appreciated by the receiving country. So we hope that we will receive such an invitation, and we are confident that it will happen, to conduct again an observation mission in Bangladesh for the next elections. Then now, whether or not the next elections will be following the same pattern as the one of 2014, my obvious response, and I think the response of 160 million Bangladeshis, is it should not happen in the same way. We very much hope that the next elections will be inclusive and that all political parties will be part of the run-up to the elections.
Ambassador, again it's time to take a break and we will back you very shortly.
My pleasure.
দর্শক আবারও ছোট্ট একটা বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পর, আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকবেন নিশ্চয়ই। দর্শক স্বাগত আরেকবার। আমরা কথা বলছিলাম ইউরোপীয় ইউনিয়ন রাষ্ট্রদূতের সঙ্গে। অ্যাম্বাসেডর, দ্য কোশ্চেন ওয়াজ অ্যাবাউট ইলেকশন and you were talking about election and you hope it would be inclusive and not like 24th, 5th January. One thing that you President have started dialogue with all political parties. He have done it very recently. Election Commission has declared the roadmap that they would have the dialogue with all the political parties and stakeholders to hold a free, fair and credible election. And I can remember you, all the ambassadors under the leadership of UN representative, you want an appointment to discuss about the election issues with the Honorable President. Did you get any response yet?
Well, actually, the perspective was slightly different. The request for meeting the Honorable President was in the context of the formation of the new Election Commission. So at that time, it could not happen. Ever since, most of us have met with the Chief Election Commissioner, the newly appointed Chief Election Commissioner, and some of the members of his commission. So I would say our initial request at this point of time doesn't make so much sense anymore, and our intention to meet with the Chief Election Commissioner has been completely fulfilled.
You know, this election commission already held some elections like Kumilla City Corporation election and some local government election, and that election was really good. So are you really hopeful about the new election commission here in Bangladesh?
I think it's very encouraging, as you suggest. Of course, the general elections are of a different magnitude. They decide of the future of the country, not just of a city or a district, and not be interested in the progress of democracy in your country.
There is a Islamic power named Hifazat Islam, and they are not a political party yet because they are not registered with the election commission, but they became a big factor in local politics, and very recently the political party who is in the power, Bangladesh Awami League, they have a very good connection with the Hifazat Islam, and Awami League is a secular political wing, and Hifazat Islam is not very secular, rather they become only Islamic based party. So how do you see in this relation?
No, this is something that we have, of course, observed with the highest degree of interest, including recent developments related to those diplomas, master degree diplomas issued by the Qawmi Madrasa, being endorsed by the government, and maybe a kind of dialogue between the government and this religious organization, Hifazat Islam. So again, if the intention is to bring everybody on board, I think this kind of dialogue should, of course, be saluted. But at the end of the day, the idea is very much to rally everybody on the same democratic principles.
If I ask you the question regarding Jamaat Islam, that all political parties or government should be inclusive in the case of Jamaat Islam also?
I think, all political parties which are legally acknowledged, which are authorized by law to perform their activities should be are legitimate to be considered for a dialogue.
Yeah, you know, Bangladesh is a very newly born country. It's only 46 years now, and on the very beginning of our independence, it was said by USA that it's a bottomless basket. And now Bangladesh is a wonder of economy. Everybody is praising the development of Bangladesh. So how do you evaluate the Bangladesh economy after just 46 years?
Yeah, I think the overall socio-economic progress of Bangladesh is a matter of admiration, nothing less for all of us, foreign partners of Bangladesh, on various grounds. Economy, development, and trade has been a major driver. You know, we are so proud as Europeans that thanks to this duty-free, quota-free access to our single market offered to Bangladesh, your country, like no other least developed country, which benefit from the same privilege in terms of access to the EU market, only Bangladesh has been capable of taking this fantastic advantage. Why is that so? Various factors, I think, but certainly a very dynamic private sector, hard-working people, and a collective ambition to bring the country forward.
Regarding Myanmar, I have a question. Myanmar is our important neighbor,
obviously,
and we are in some crisis regarding Rohingya issues. Do we play any role to solve this problem? I know you are trying.
Well, it depends how you consider solve the problem. Certainly, we are a partner in providing humanitarian assistance on both sides of the border, in Bangladesh and also in the Rakhine state of Myanmar, not only to those populations who have been persecuted, but also to the host communities who are displaying such a sense of hospitality. This is for the humanitarian part. We also play a diplomatic role in terms of encouraging the government of Myanmar, but this would be for my colleague in Yangon, of course, to comment, to accept, these citizens as full-fledged citizens of their country. There, I can quote one very recent example. In Geneva, at the last session of the Human Rights Council, European Union tabled a resolution that was supported by all parties in favor of acknowledging the situation of the Rohingya population and having them becoming full-fledged citizens of their country.
Yeah, Ambassador, that would be my last question. We are almost about to finish. Bangladesh have set some goals to become a middle-income country by 2021, to become a bold economy by 2041. Are you really confident about that Bangladesh can achieve the goal within the set time?
Yeah. If you consider, the last 2-3 decades, we have all good reasons to be very confident. There are not so many countries in the world that have been enjoying for the last 2-3 decades a GDP annual growth that was never less than 6-7%. If this trend continues, of course, these objectives will be reached. And we have no reason to consider that any factor will challenge this progress. At the same time, it's a matter of staying alert. There are challenges which are not specific to this country. The development of Bangladesh, the economic development of Bangladesh, depends also on the prosperity of so many other countries, including in Europe, especially the RMG market. It is not expanding so much in Europe as it was expanding in the past. Remittances are also a key driver of your economic development. Again, the figures are a little bit concerning. So all those elements should be taken into account, but not as a matter, of concern, but as a matter of encouragement to go further, including in terms of diversification of the economy. I think one key factor for the future success of your country in economic and socio-economic terms will be the capacity to achieve diversification and, as we say, to climb the value chain.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your valuable time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to receive you this morning. Thank you.
দর্শক, শেষ করছি আজ। কথা হবে পরবর্তী পর্বে নতুন কোনো অতিথির সঙ্গে, নতুন বিষয় নিয়ে। সে পর্যন্ত ভালো থাকবেন সবাই, থাকবেন যমুনা টেলিভিশনের সঙ্গে।